Okay, good morning everyone. We're going to get started. Welcome to our Laserfiche 10 Q&A webinar brought to you by AMI, the paperless company. During this webinar, you will have the opportunity to ask our solution engineers your questions about Laserfiche 10. My name is Brooke. I'm the Sales and Marketing Coordinator here at AMI, and I will be your moderator today. Some housekeeping items. Before we start today's discussion, please make sure to enter your audio PIN if you are dialing in, and if you're not using your computer audio, also please make sure to mute yourself just in case to avoid background noise. To interact with us, you may raise your virtual hand to ask an audio question by clicking the little hand icon on your GoToWebinar control panel. We will open the lines up for questions, and I'll also be doing that by, when I see your hand raised, I will allow you to ask the question. Also, please feel free to write your comments and questions throughout the presentation in the Questions tab on your GoToWebinar control panel. In addition, feel free to take notes if you wish, but the webinar will be recorded and can be shared with interested attendees along with the slide deck itself. So with that, we have Levi Cowboy and Claude Fan on the line with us to answer your questions about Laserfiche 10. If you guys just want to go ahead and say hello so that we can make sure that we can hear you okay.
This is Claude. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so our agenda for today is quite simple. We will be opening the floor for you all to ask questions about Laserfiche 10. If you have other questions that come up during the discussion, please don't hesitate to ask. All right, so moving right along, our first question comes from Gabriel Sanchez, and he had asked this before the webinar during registration, so I'm just going to go ahead and start with this. So his question is, does it integrate with ERP systems? So feel free, Claude or Levi, to go ahead.
Gabriel, can you expand on that question a little bit more? Did you have a specific ERP system you have in mind, and what did you mean by integration?
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let Gabriel answer that.
He's got his hand raised. I see it.
Okay, can you hear me?
I believe so.
Well, I guess the reason I wanted to expand is we're moving to a new ERP system, SAP, and Laserfiche has always been a standalone. I wonder if there's some kind of like module that you can add that integrates with our ERP system, that maybe through our ERP system or one of our modules or interfaces to our ERP system that we're going to be getting can connect with the Laserfiche system, other than specifically doing a standalone individual Laserfiche Windows.
Okay, I can answer that. And you said the ERP system you're moving toward is SAP?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Yes, there is an actual integration with SAP. There's actually, for anybody else listening, there's integration to a lot of third-party applications, even websites. There's a product in the Laserfiche module called Connector. More specifically, Connector version 10 comes out, I think, in a couple months. But what Connector does is it allows you to, it basically integrates Laserfiche with your with whatever system you're using, allowing you to pull up Laserfiche documents. So if you're in SAP and you're looking at something with a specific PO number, and Connector basically runs in the background, and you can hotkey it to certain buttons on your keyboard, like Control A or something like that. And when you push that button, if you're looking at a PO screen, what it does is it can take that PO number and then it can pull up the corresponding Laserfiche document that has that number in a PO field or something like that. But we do have integration with SAP. We did a demo on it just yesterday with another client that is interested in using Laserfiche with SAP. So you can pull documents into Laserfiche and index it using metadata that you're looking on your SAP screen. You can look up documents in Laserfiche based on what you're looking at SAP. And I believe the new Laserfiche 10 module that's coming out, you will actually be able to push information from Laserfiche to SAP or any other third-party application.
One other question that, if you don't mind, we have 9.0. If we pay the yearly support, is that something that you can get for free, or is something totally independent and different, meaning you have to pay to upgrade to 10? I mean, I guess is 9 integratable with ERP?
Connector, there is a Laserfiche Connector 9. There's a version 9, and that is SAP integratable. But I believe the bidirectional part, the part of pushing Laserfiche information into a third-party application, that's one of the new features of Laserfiche, or not Laserfiche, Connector 10.
Right. Okay, so then.
So we answer your.
Yeah, we can talk after the webinar about giving you an upgrade.
All right, that's a question my CFO wanted me to ask. I understand. Thank you.
Right, did I answer your question then about the SAP integration?
Yes, sir, you did. Be something that I'd like to look into further, and I'd either ask you or look into myself further, and maybe, I don't know if this is something you're going to show in this webinar here or not, but yes, you answered my question.
Not necessarily. We weren't planning on showing any demonstrations, but we could pull something together if you want to see what an SAP integration might look like.
Okay, that would be great.
Okay, Brooke, I assume you're jotting a lot of these down so that we can follow up on them afterwards?
So I'm going to go ahead and mute you, Gabriel, and we'll follow up with you after the webinar.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, so our next question comes from Sam, and he's asking the business benefit of Laserfiche 10.
Well, business benefits of Laserfiche 10, you can, it's kind of hard, it kind of depends on what version you're coming from, or maybe, but the idea behind it is that it's going to streamline everything you're doing more so than it already is. There's a new Laserfiche 10 web access module, and with a lot of companies moving away from physical data storage and just and moving towards working on the cloud, Laserfiche 10 has much more integration, streamlining its modules together and working on a web browser basis compared to working on a thick client application. So that's probably one of the best business benefits. You can streamline your stuff. Everything now talks to each other more efficiently. So if you've ever had problems trying to get maybe forms and workflow to communicate together or things like that, Laserfiche 10 is moving towards solving all of that. There's more integration with Outlook. There's integration with Word now that wasn't there previously. You can do really cool things like searching your recycling bin, which not really something you think of, but at the same time, if you have a lot of people deleting documents and you have to find something that somebody has deleted, searching recycling bin is a pretty cool new feature. But there's a lot of new features with Laserfiche 10, and it can help streamline a business even more efficiently.
Okay, great. Thank you for that answer. That was wonderful. And just a reminder, everyone, like I had mentioned in the beginning, if you have any questions, you can just press that little question icon on the GoToWebinar side panel. And then moving right along, our next question comes from David, His question is, if we upgrade to Laserfiche 10, do we need to upgrade everything?
I can take that answer. Theoretically, the answer is no. You don't need to upgrade everything, but it doesn't really make much sense not to. The server is the first thing that needs to be upgraded to Laserfiche Server 10, and then typically, whatever modules you have, we would upgrade everything just because of the time it takes to do an upgrade. So I know a lot of upgrades are on a lot of people's mind right now, but to do an upgrade, we would back everything up. Your SQL, your files, everything needs to get backed up. So if you spend the time backing everything up, it just makes more sense to upgrade everything. And just the communication between the modules. If you have Workflow 10 trying to talk to Forms 9, there could be some issues. I'm not 100% sure if there will be or not, but there could be. So to answer that question, no, you don't have to, but it makes more sense to upgrade everything at one time so that you're all on the same level playing field. I hope that answered your question, David.
Yeah, it looks like he doesn't have anything else.
Actually, just to add on to that, Brooke, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I feel like a lot of people are, this whole talk is about upgrades. Just to mention, the software is available to upgrade. All of our clients are entitled to the newest and latest version of Laserfiche. However, upgrades are typically not included in the support, and it's typically considered a billable project. But anybody that has inquiries about that, please talk to Jeffrey. I'm sure there's exceptions and a lot of different situational parts of that answer, but just as a blanket statement.
Okay, awesome. And we have 2 questions that just came in from that. Did someone else have something else to say before I? No? Okay. So from Gabriel, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. It looks like you have your hand raised.
Okay, I heard you said migration, and I went from like a really old one to number 9. So you're saying you recommend that you upgrade everything. So are you saying in the migration from, for example, 9 to 10, would it be seamlessly? And are you going to have to migrate all the records and all the TIFFs and all the pictures on that in order to be for example, on version 10?
No, I think there might have been some misunderstanding there. I'm not sure if I said the word migrate or if I said the word backup. Yeah, you're not doing a migration. Migrations are usually if, say, you're going from one server, it's old, you're going to shut it down, and you can actually physically migrate the information from one server to another server. That's what we call a migration. What most people would be interested in is an upgrade. Right? We're not changing the location. We're just basically going to install the new version. But you don't need to change anything. You don't need to move any files. You don't need to do anything. Basically, what we do is we back up somebody's going to back up, whether it's us or your IT guys. The information should get backed up just in case something goes wrong during the upgrade. And then we can just revert back and pick up where we left off. So,
understood.
I hope I answered your question. Yeah.
Yes, you did.
If there was a migration that needed to be done, we also handle migrations, server to server or things like that.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And we have another question that comes from Andres Bilbao. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, but since you sent the question in, I'll go ahead and say that out loud. So Andres is asking, how long does it take to do an upgrade?
Levi, you on the call on this one, since you usually do upgrades?
Yeah, it's Levi here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right. Typical upgrade. If it's an in-place upgrade for the Laserfiche server alone, it typically takes about 1 to 2 hours. I'm just referring to the Laserfiche server.
When you say
other
in-place,
modules,
Levi, when you say in-place, you mean non-migration, right?
Yes, that is exact. We're not moving to a different server. It's going to be on the same server. We are just upgrading the Laserfiche server from one version to the next. That will take about 1 to 2 hours. For other modules, it would roughly take, this is just a rough estimate, it would take about 30 minutes to 1 hour for each modules or products, such as web access, web link, and all of the Laserfiche products. That does not include Laserfiche clients in all workstations. Does that answer your question, Andres?
Yes, it does. Now, you mentioned the clients. Does the 10 version come with a new version 10 client also, or?
Yes, it does. It does. Laserfiche Client 10 comes with it.
Okay, and I imagine it has all the MSI.
Your users can still use Laserfiche Client 9 with the 10 server, but so that can be upgraded, as you deem necessary. But the big advantage of Laserfiche 10 is the web access users.
Perfect. And then kind of pairing off of the earlier comment regarding backups before the installation, I imagine if we have a routine backup policy that hits everything nightly, then we don't really need, we can still capitalize off of that, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, we just need to make sure that it backed everything up. So when, some people just back up their databases. This would be something where we back up all your forms, all your workflows, just to make sure we have basically everything. But if you're already doing that, then yeah.
That answers that. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Andres. Thank you, Levi. And also, Jeffrey has been chiming in every so often just to let you guys know who the other voice is. All right, so our next question comes from Beth, and she is asking, are there any new workflow activities?
I can take that one as well. There's actually a good handful of new workflow activities. One of the cooler ones that I've been playing around with is the Microsoft Word document integration. So if anybody here is familiar with emails, the email activity in workflow, where you can send out, where you can create a template of an email, something like first name, comma, last name, and then a block of text. And then workflow can automatically fill in the first name, last name, and send out quote-unquote customized emails in a more automated way. There's integration for Microsoft Word document, same way. So if you're creating agendas or as a Word document or just anything as a Word document, very similar to the fillable PDF that's already out there, but now you're basically filling in a Word document. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if that integration also expands to, say, Excel, but I know Microsoft Word is part of it. The big thing is the forms business process. So now workflow can kick off forms activities. This is part of integrating forms and workflow so that they can communicate with each other better. There is let's see what else. Let's see. You can also now, I'm looking at the list of activities and looking at what's new. There's a Microsoft Exchange for automated email replies. So, those of you guys that when I send out an email around the holidays, it says, oh, I'm out of the office until X amount of days. Now there can be integration where that will happen based on specific business process rules. So if somebody requests time off, you can automatically link into, somebody fills out a form to request some time off and it gets approved. You can link into Microsoft Exchange and then automatically set their I'm away kind of reply when somebody emails them during the period of time. And then reading and writing PDF metadata. That was actually a cool one. So we can read and write PDF, fillable PDFs, but now you can read and write metadata for the PDF. So this is like if you want to export a PDF outside of Laserfiche to your desktop, and you already filled it out, but now you actually want the metadata that you have on your template to go with the PDF. You can actually now read and write metadata to a PDF. So that's actually really cool. I can imagine a couple of use cases where that would be very helpful. I think that's about it. Those are the big ones, at least.
Okay, great. And then in the middle of that explanation, Gabriel proposed another question. He's asking either one of you guys to elaborate on web access a little bit more because it's fairly new to him. I'm going to go ahead and mute him in case he wants to discuss further.
All right. So web access is kind of we call it the thin client compared to the regular thick client that's installed on a machine that wants to use it. So, the thick client is there's an executable. We double-click it. We actually install software on your laptop or your computer, and you would double-click it, and it'll open up, and you can see your repository. That's the thick client. The thin client is web access. All you have to do is open up a web browser. And then there's a link you go to that will give you the same access as the thick client. You log in, you can see your files, you can do everything that you can do in the thick client you can do on the web client. The benefits of that is if you're not always on your machine. If you're traveling around the office from one computer to another, you can access your files anywhere, anytime you want. You can also access your files on an iPad or a mobile device using web access. If your network allows it, you can access your repository from your house. Depending on the way your IT has structured your, if you have a VPN to your network in your office, then definitely you can access your web access.
I guess, web access is cool. Yeah, I guess that's what my next question was. Other than the client having VPN access to our location and then being able to open up their web browser, I was wondering if there's some way of setting it up, be it like a public IP address, and publish it so that people, as long as they have credentials, are able to access it like that, or no, not really?
I believe you can, but then you're running the risk that if anybody gets a hold of that link, they can, brute force their way through your security login, or, it's a little bit more risky because then anybody that gets a copy of that link has the opportunity to log into your system. Whereas if you have to VPN to your network, then you can at least, that's one layer of security. Now, if you're just interested in looking at documents, there's another software called WebLink that is meant for that. WebLink, it's a public-facing portal to your repository. So if you want to share a couple of folders, you don't have to share your whole repository, but maybe you have a folder called client information or client documents. So you can share that folder, make it public-facing. Then based on the number of licenses you have, these clients don't need to actually log in. It just kind of uses up a license until they log out, but they're able to access and look at documents. It's more of a read-only.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
So, so that's WebLink. So if you have client invoices or something like that, you face that folder out to the public, then they don't need to log in. But web access is more for you actually generally want access into the system and doing things with it. WebLink, you can't actually upload documents or anything. It's read-only.
Also, this is Levi. I just want to point out, as far as web access, you can also, if you wanted to have it accessed outside of your network, you can apply SSL for added security.
Oh, okay. SSL. Got it.
Okay, so does that answer your question, Gabriel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Okay, so the next question comes from Anna. So someone had asked about workflow activities, so she's asking, are there any new forms activities?
I can take that one since, again, I have a pretty good experience with the new forms. In terms of the process designer, so if anybody here is familiar with forms, the process designer, there's not too much new activities in terms of kind of the routing and what you can do in the process designer. A lot of the changes has been in the layout, so it looks a lot cleaner. But the biggest changes has to do with actual developing a form. It is now much more easier to develop a form. It still has very friendly drag and drop features to it, but the coolest thing is the calculation field. So before in the past, if we wanted to say calculate, you know, how much money you're going to get reimbursed for mileage, we would have to enter the number of miles you drove, how much you get per mile, and then write some fancy JavaScript to do the multiplication. Now you're able to do calculations very simply, very easily. You just say box 1 times box 2, take that answer and put it in box 3. So they've upgraded their calculation, and a lot of the stuff they've been upgrading has been in terms of direct response from, you know, people like ourselves telling the developers, hey, this is a problem, or, you know, clients like yourself posting up questions in the Laserfiche answers. So, you know, kind of like that, was it the squeaky wheel gets the oil? So if there's enough people asking for it, they usually pump it out in the next, the release. So that was a big one that people have been asking about. There's better support for database lookups. So again, if you're familiar with fields, when we do a database lookup and we try to populate certain fields, now we're able to populate tables, and just overall tracking. That's probably the best part, the dashboard. So before, there wasn't really a good tracking mechanism to find out how many processes are being run, what step they're on. You know, you can kind of see your results pane, but it's just a long list of stuff. But now there's a whole dashboard. You can see every process that's being run. It breaks it down to, you know, how many instances are on which step. You can push tasks from one person to the other. So the dashboard feature of Forms is probably the newest and biggest thing they're moving towards. Moving people away from folders inside the repository and more of an inbox-style task system inside Forms. And it's supported because you can now push a task to somebody else very easily. So if I'm supposed to be approving time off requests, but I'm actually off myself, you know, Jeffrey can just go in very easily and say, you know what, I'm going to take all these tasks that are in Claude's inbox, push them over to Levi, and then now Levi has to do them. And then there can be reminders when a task is not completed by a certain amount of time. So it's kind of a lot of the workflow activities that we're all used to, but now it's being built into Forms for tracking and just for overall collaboration between multiple participants. So I see more and more people moving towards Forms as a collaboration and a tool to get things done rather than just data collection. I hope that answered your question, Anna. Sometimes I get a little in-depth with these questions, and I just go on and on.
Yep, it looks like she doesn't have her hand raised, so I think we're all good with that. And just a reminder to everybody, oh, it looks like Dell just raised his hand, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, Dell.
Wait, what was the reminder? You got me thinking.
Okay.
All right, Dell asking a question?
Dell, did you have a question?
Yeah, hang on, we're in spirit. Yeah, well, this form.
There's a little bit of backup. If you're on a speaker, you might want to go off of that.
Yeah, I think you're sitting too close to Karen because it's echoing.
Man. You're using it, Karen? No.
All right, I muted Dell for a second. But it is echoing, Dell. I think it's because Karen is sitting next to you and you guys both have, because she's muted, or her sound is going into your microphone. All right, Dell, we unmuted you. Hopefully you're not going to echo, but what was your question?
But you're not going to be able to hear me, though. Can you hear me? Yeah, it's still muting.
Okay,
I'll take it offline.
Maybe you can type out your question.
Actually, it's about licenses on Forms.
Okay, what was the license question?
Elle, you can go ahead and you're unmuted, so you can go ahead and speak whenever you're ready.
All right.
It looks like we're having some technical difficulties, so let's just try to unmute Karen A.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, Del, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, the question I have, Claude, is that you just mentioned this new thing about forms. Is the licensing scheme, are all of the restricted users can become participants in a form task?
Did you say your restricted users are now?
Yes, our license. We have several full user licenses, and then we have some majority of our users are restricted, meaning metadata changes only. Can they become form participants? If I have a form that has several tasks and those users can participate in the form task, is my question.
No, those are separate licenses. There's actually a forms participant license as well. So restricted users can only edit metadata. If you want them to be participating in forms task and see like a forms inbox, they'll have to either be a full name user or a forms participant user.
Okay, so only the full named licenses are able to do it, or a forms user license.
Yes, forms participant license user.
All right, thanks. That was my question.
Okay, great. So we have another question that came in from John. So John is asking you all what else you're excited for that has not yet been mentioned.
I can only speak for myself, but of the Laserfiche 10 suite, there are 2 products that have not been released yet. The biggest one being QuickFields 10. So if you're not familiar with QuickFields or you don't have too much experience with it, it is the batch processing or batch scanning software for Laserfiche. It's able to digest a stack of papers and split them up, classify them, automatically index them for you, and then upload them into your repository. So if you have a stack of say 50 invoices or whatnot, we can set up profiles that will be able to split them, index them, and store them for you. But the new QuickFields 10 has a couple cool new features. If you are familiar with QuickFields, the sessions are now going to be on a server side. So one session that all QuickFields stations will be able to access. That's probably one of the cooler things. And there's going to be a lot more monitoring now. Now that we have a server session for your QuickField sessions, you can track, what sessions are being run, when they're being run, who's starting these sessions, how many things they're storing in the repository, things like that. So a lot more reporting. But yeah, QuickFields 10 is not out yet, but it is coming out. The second thing I think I mentioned when a question was asked earlier is Connector 10. That is not out yet. And I'm actually very excited for it to come out just to see, how this bidirectional information transfer is gonna look like. So that's coming out, I believe, Q1. I believe both QuickFields and Connectors coming out Q1, if not by Q2. And then for all the developers in here, I don't know how many developers there are in here, but the Laserfiche 10 SDK is coming out, which I'm most excited for. So you can do a lot more custom coding. There are updated, newer libraries for you to do all your customization. along with support for all the older libraries. So I know, Karen, I hope you're listening, but I know you've done some development with the SDK. New version 10 is coming out. That's for me in terms of what I'm excited for. Anybody else have anything they're looking forward to that they want to add?
Oh yeah, I just this is Levi. I just want to add a couple of things that are not mentioned in the discussion about what's coming out or what's out in regarding Laserfiche 10. There are some features that are added in Laserfiche 10 and also Web Access 10. For those that has used Web Access 10, everything is changed in regarding the looks and feel of Web Access. They basically streamline it so that it will be easier to use and friendly to use. Couple of features that were added in Laserfiche 10 are the following. One of them is you can mark a field as a required field, and it's a template by template basis, meaning you can mark a field as required in one template and not required in another template. Another feature that is added in Laserfiche 10 is that you can now search in Recycle Bin. In Laserfiche 9 and below, you cannot search anything in Recycle Bin. Also, there's an additional feature in Laserfiche 10 wherein you can lock down user settings. Referring to Laserfiche user settings, you can make one. You can't change one of the user's settings, and others you can. And I'm trying to think of something else. Oh yeah, one neat feature that's added in Laserfiche 10 is that you can star or click a star on a document for future reference. It's basically like a my favorite document, quote unquote. That's one of those things that they need to have.
Huh?
And I think I've added most of them.
Yeah, the star that Levi's referring to is like bookmarking. So you're able to actually bookmark specific folders and or documents. So if you know this is your folder, this is all the stuff inside is stuff that you look at every day, you can bookmark it for easy access.
Okay, great. And did Jeffrey have anything to add to that?
No, I think they've pretty much covered it. One thing I will say in the future, Laserfiche 2016 is planning to release a business process library with prepackaged solutions. So that'll be interesting to see what they come up with.
Yeah, that should be an exciting addition. And then while you guys were discussing, Gabriel submitted another question, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute him, and he's asking, when is Connector 10 coming out, the date approximately? I'm not sure if you guys mentioned the exact date or if you have an answer to that, but we'll go ahead and unmute him.
Yeah, so basically Connector 10 is scheduled to be released in Q1.
Actually, Levi, I'm gonna correct you on that. I'm looking at the roadmap right now. The ones that are in Q1 is the SDK and QuickSeal 10. But Connector 10 just says 2016. So sometime this year, but they haven't nailed down what quarter yet, Gabriel. So.
Okay, well, when you said bidirectional and you can integrate it with an ERP system, it kind of grabbed my interest because it'd be awesome if you'd be able to look at a sales order or a PO and being able to maybe click on something that allows you to look at anything associated with that particular sales order, such as the history or sales code or anything. It might make life easier instead of having to go to an independent web interface or the client that's installed in the machine to look up, you know, POs and quotes or sales orders and things like that. So I guess I'd like to see. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me try to clarify what I meant by bidirectional. Bidirectional means we can push information from your system into Laserfiche.
Mm-hmm.
So that is capability right now that it is able to do. So you can look up documents, things like that. And then So I hope that I'm understanding your use case correctly, right? You're looking at your system and you want to pull up sales order or history or any kind of document that's pertaining to what you're looking at in your SAP system, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's available right now. If you're looking at your SAP system, you have some information, you want to pull up more additional supporting documents that pertain or are related to that guy, that's available right now. That's us pulling Laserfiche documents based on what you're looking at in SAP.
Okay. I guess the other question is, sometime in 2016, do you have maybe when you have a chance, like schedule something with you? I'd like to see the functionality of this with 9, because you said there's currently doing it now with 9. I'd like to see that functionality somewhere live to see how it works. I guess if you have an opportunity or a chance, or maybe just documentation and pictures or screenshots.
Okay, we can totally do that, and we can probably do that with your current ERP before you guys even go to SAP, because Connector doesn't only work for one software. It's kind of open in terms of what software it can pull up information from. You can pull it from 2 different software. You know, you might be using it for SAP, but somebody else in your company might be using it to pull information from something else.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm sure Brooke will jot it down, and we'll try to schedule something or send you something.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone, for providing those answers for him. So we haven't had any other questions or hand raises pop up from Gabriel's question to now. So this is pretty much the final time for everybody to either raise their hand or submit a question. So it's now or never. All right, so it looks like nobody else has any questions or concerns. So with that, thank you so much for your questions. That just about wraps up our Q&A. If anyone has any additional questions, please do reach out to us. We want these Q&A sessions to be helpful and insightful for you all. So we're here for you if you have any other additional questions. All right, so just to go into the next steps, there's a list of resources here for you all related to today's discussion about Laserfiche 10, as well as the next steps. The first 3 links are for pre-recorded webinars that you can access just directly. And then if you're interested in attending a live webinar, you can access this with the 4th link, so the live webinars link. And then finally, contact your account manager or sales rep to discuss an upgrade.
Just to add into what Brooke was saying, Brooke, can you go back to the last slide? I just want to expand on those live webinars. So the first 3 links are previous webinars that Laserfiche has hosted. You know, what's new in Laserfiche 10, Web Access, and Quick Fields. The live webinars, there's actually 3 dates coming up in the first 2 weeks of February, where you can do something very similar to what we're doing here, but it will be Laserfiche pre-sales, demoing some of the software, and you can, you know, ask questions and inquire about those the different features of those guys too. So I would highly suggest anybody interested click those links, because then you can join in and see what the new stuff is from Laserfiche pre-sales, as well as from, you know, things that we can show you.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. All right, so if nobody else has anything to add, we are going to conclude today's Q&A session. I want to thank you all for attending, and again, if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to us directly. All right, so no more questions or anything, so I'm just going to go ahead and exit. You all have a great day and a great weekend. Thank you.